Hey everyone, and welcome to another complete BMX bike overview. This time we're going to be going over the We the People complete BMX bikes, taking a look at the value that you get for your money and how the parts and the quality of materials on those parts and components stack up for the money that you're going to be spending. Keep in mind throughout this that We the People has announced that they're going to be doing things differently with their complete bikes for 2023, and that they're going to be replacing and upgrading individual bikes at random times. So this information is subject to change, but it should be somewhat close. That being said, first, let's take a look at We the People's page for their bikes. First, we're going to take a look at the 20-inch bikes. Then after that, we'll be going over the smaller and larger bikes. So one thing I've noticed with We the People's complete bikes and their marketing for them is that they put a ton of effort into this. First, they've got a whole paragraph talking about the bikes, and I think the last sentence is pretty good here. It says here, every rider deserves to have the best available options from a series of complete bikes, and that is something we have always prided ourselves on. This year is no different, and we made sure that no one is left out. So let's take a look at what they have to offer, and we will be comparing to what I believe is the gold standard in price for value on a complete BMX bike. So first, let's take a look at the Nova. I'm assuming these are in price order, but one thing you'll see here is that We the People does not list prices on their site. So we're going to be referring to Albie's and Dan's Comp for the pricing on these, and it also is something that could be subject to change. So for the Nova, what do we have here? We've got a paragraph talking about it. There's some information here. It's got a 12.75-inch oval chainstay and a 26mm offset fork. So that's interesting. Moving down, they've got a video showing all these pictures of it and some riding. All kinds of good information here. And it seems like most everything you would want to know in making an informed complete bike purchase. So I'm assuming all of the other bikes in their lineup have the same thing. So we're not going to go over the same stuff every single time. We'll get to the information that you care about. So it looks like there are 6 different options of the Nova. There's a 20-inch flat top tube option that's matte black, a laser green 20-inch flat top tube option. We've got a ultraviolet 20-inch flat option. Then we've got a matte black 20.5-inch top tube option, a matte raw 20.5-inch top tube, and then a matte white that is available in 20 or 20.5-inch top tubes. So you have options here. Specifications, what do we got here? So it's a high tensile steel frame. It's a high tensile steel fork with a chromoly steer tube and that 26mm offset that we talked about. High tensile steel bars. Grips, I feel like, don't matter as much. Salt Pro front load stem. It's got a 50mm reach. Headset is integrated sealed headset. On the lowest end bike that they have, it appears that it does have an integrated headset. And if we look closely here at the head tube in this picture, we can see that it is indeed an integrated headset. That is great to see in their lowest end complete bike. From there, it's got brakes on it. It's got a U-brake. It's from Salt. It's got chromoly tubular 3-piece cranks. They are 165 millimeters. That is definitely something to take into consideration, because I think at the lowest end, you usually just get what you get when it comes to crank length. It's got a mid bottom bracket. That was also something you could see in the pictures. Taking a look here, you can see it's got this mid bottom bracket here. Those are two huge things when you're talking about a lowest of the low end complete bike from a company. It's got eclat slash pedals, nylon fiberglass. It's got a salt chain, a steel sprocket, loose ball bearing driver. It's got a loose ball front hub, a semi-sealed cassette on that rear hub, and single-walled rims on it. The rest of it, 2.35 tires, and the weight is not here. So all in all, this appears to be pretty good. What I will say here while we're still at the beginning of the video is that when it comes to something that is the lowest of the low end on a complete bike, I don't recommend that for all out real deal trying to learn how to ride BMX. It might be fine for just riding around in your driveway if you're buying this for a kid who's just riding around the neighborhood, not actually like taking it to the skate park, the trails, the streets, the vert ramp, whatever it might be where you're actually intending to leave the ground and try tricks and try to progress in BMX. I don't recommend it for those things because high tensile steel has a history of just not holding up. And when it comes to BMX, and if you're a parent or someone who's new to this, what you need to understand is that if you cheap out and buy the cheapest possible thing that you can, you're going to be paying for it again later to buy the good thing. So take my word for it as someone who's done this before and bought the cheapest thing that you can buy, only to break it and then realize later, well, I'm spending that money twice because I needed to buy the good thing anyways. So if you just absolutely cannot afford a complete BMX bike that is brand new, take a look at a used bike locally because you can usually find better parts, more high-end parts for a lower price just because it is used. That being said, taking a look at this bike at Albies, we can see that it has a $468 price tag from Albies, and this does appear to be the same bike because it has all of the same color options. When it comes to the value for that, for just $30 more, you can buy the Kink Whip, which is a full chromoly sealed front and rear hub with double walled rims bike for just $500, that $30 more. So in reality, the Nova isn't actually the lowest of the low end that you can get for a complete BMX bike. There are other bikes from other companies at a lower price point than that if you're interested in something like that. So when it comes to the Nova, the value that you get, I would say you may as well save $30 and buy something like the Kink Whip or even potentially the Cult Devotion, which is also $500 and just has a high tensile steel fork, and get a bike that is probably going to last you longer. But that being said, also, if you're just planning to ride in circles, this would just be fine. If you're not ever planning on leaving the ground, this would be okay, but chances are you're not going to be spending $470 on a bike to just ride in circles. One thing that I should point out here before we move on from the Nova is that underneath the specs, you can find the geometry of the frame. You can see everything: top tube, chainstay, head tube angle, seat tube angle, bottom bracket height, and standover height. So if that's something that you're concerned with, you can see this on every single one of their complete bikes to get more information so you can make a more well-informed purchase. So that is the Nova. Moving on from there, we've got the CRS. There's a 20-inch cassette and free coaster version of this. The CRS, we've got all this information here. It's got the same 165 millimeter cranks, 26 millimeter offset forks, and a 12.75 inch chainstay. Same thing there. It is available in galactic purple and matte black. Specifications on this are as follows. It is a flat 20-inch frame. So if you needed something that is smaller, this would be what you'd be taking a look at. Same high tensile steel frame with the same high tensile steel fork that has a chromoly steer tube on it. Same bars. This one actually has a top load stem, whereas the Nova had a front load stem. So that's something to take into consideration because it will make your handlebars higher. It's got integrated headset, mid-bottom bracket, once again, 165 millimeter tubular chromoly 3-piece cranks, fully sealed front hub, fully sealed rear hub, but it still has single-walled rims front and rear. So let's take a look at the pricing on this one. Same tires. Let's see. This one actually does have the weight, 26.45 pounds. So taking a look at the CRS on Albi's website, it is the same bike. It is listed at $494. So it's pretty much the same story as the Nova, but for $6 more, you could get a bike that is full chromoly. This one does have sealed front and rear hubs, but even if you're just out to support We the People, I would say to just save up some more money and buy a bike that is a higher tier in quality, because this one, you can get something that is much, much higher tier for literally $6 more from a different company. Moving on from the CRS 20-inch regular, we've got the free coaster version. I'm just going to double check here. That is the same exact thing. Everything appears to be exactly the same until we get to the rear hub, which is a fully sealed free coaster hub. So, can we get a free coaster bike for around the same price. Let's take a look. First of all, the free coaster version of this bike is $510, so you do have to pay more for that upgrade over the previous. But let's take a look at Kink's lineup to see what we have here. So we have the Gap free coaster, which is $470. This one has a chromoly head tube, top tube, and down tube on it. Chromoly steer tube fork, 4130 chromoly handlebars. It's got pretty much everything else is the same except the cranks are 5 millimeters longer, and it has a sealed free coaster rear hub. But the front hub on this one is unsealed. So for what is literally $40 less, you can get chromoly on the frame, you can get chromoly handlebars, but you're missing out on that front hub that is sealed where you get on the CRS free coaster We the People. So that is a determination that you can make, but ultimately, once again, the value, I feel, leans towards the Kink in this realm. And I'm not knocking We the People whatsoever here. They are doing a fantastic job with their bikes. It's just that the value leans towards another company, and I have to be honest about that. Moving on from the CRS, we have the Arcade. It says here it's the perfect mid-tier bike, your choice of a 20.5 or 21 inch. Opening up the page here, we can see all of the same information. Now let's move down to see what we have for options. We've got candy red, matte black, or matte translucent teal. And under the specs, what do we have? We have a chromoly down and top tube here. The rest is high tensile steel. We've got high 10 fork with the same chromoly steer tube and 26 millimeter offset. Same fork we've seen on the previous bikes. Handlebars, high tensile steel. Top load stem with that 50 millimeter reach, integrated headset. It's got removable gyro tab holes. We've got the U-brake here once again. We've got tubular 3-piece cranks, 165 millimeters once again, same cranks. Mid bottom bracket, different pedals, the Salt Plus Stealth LB pedals, salt chain, steel sprocket again, sealed bearing, cassette driver, fully sealed front hub, fully sealed rear hub. It's a cassette. We've got single walled rims once again. And the weight on this one is 27.31 pounds. So significant differences between this and the previous are pretty much just the fact that it has chromoly top and down tube on it. And taking a look at pricing here at Albies, we see that this one comes in at $520. And once again, the value proposition is exactly the same. You can save $20 and get a full chromoly frame, fork, handlebar, everything I've already said, by going with the Kink Whip, which is $500. So I'm not going to repeat myself again. But what I will say here is that we're approaching the point where buying one of these bikes just to support We the People as a company is becoming more viable. So let's continue and see what we've got here. We've got the Justice. The Justice is a modern day street machine. Moving down, it's got some information here. The Justice features revised geometry and a never-before-seen parts overhaul from We the People. Their new Activate tire, Paragon plastic guard sprocket, and perfect grips. It's got a 22 millimeter offset fork, an assortment of plastic hub guards. You'd be forgiven for thinking that you're riding a full custom build. Interesting. So moving down here to the options, we've got matte ghost gray. Let's take a closer look at this picture, or at the colorway. Kind of see it here. Matte taxi yellow. That yellow is bright. Looks good. So let's take a look at the specs. This one has tri-moly, tapered seat stay and chain stay, removable brake pivots and guides. So this one is tri-moly. Tri-moly simply just means that part of the frame is chromoly and part of the frame is high tensile steel. Usually the rear triangle of the bike is that high tensile steel, while the front triangle of the bike is chromoly. So moving on from there, the fork is full chromoly. That is great to see with that 22 millimeter offset. The handlebars are full chromoly, so we're seeing significant upgrades here over the previous bikes. It has the Zion top load stem from Salt, 50 millimeter reach, integrated headset, removable gyro tabs, alloy brake lever. It's got brakes on it. It's got the square profile 3-piece crank, 165 millimeter 8 spline. Front hub is fully sealed 3/8 axle, fully sealed rear hub, 9-tooth driver. Single walled rim in the front, but double walled rim in the rear. That is a good upgrade as well. Also, we mentioned earlier, and I'm scrolling back up to show this, that it has the Paragon sprocket with the nylon guard. This one actually is aluminum alloy, so it is upgrade in materials over the previous bikes. It's got the Activate 2.35 inch 60 psi front and rear tires on it, and it comes in at 25.83 pounds. And Albies doesn't actually have the Justice listed on there right now, but Dan's Comp does. So the price on this one listed on Dan's Comp is $598, just at $600. So the value could potentially be argued, but I would say, once again, for that $100 less, you could be buying a bike and upgrading parts by going with something like the Kink Whip. But it is getting more and more easy to argue the value of buying these bikes as we go up in the tiers. For that $600 price tag, we could get the Switch from Kink, which is exactly $600 as well. And taking a look at the specs on that one, 100% chromoly frame, fork, and handlebars once again. We have a sealed free coaster and a sealed front hub that I'm assuming bolt in means it's a female. It has the Mission Mylar rims, which are double walled front and rear. So you're getting double wall rims front and rear for that one. It's got 165 millimeter tubular 3-piece chromoly cranks that are 8 spline again. So buying the Switch over the Justice is kind of a no-brainer, honestly. And there is a chance that with all this inflation that's going on and the craziness with shipping, that Kink may be forced to raise their prices for their 2023 models, which could bring that gap even closer and make it even more arguable or viable to go with something like the We the People, because the price differences will be not as severe. So back to We the People. We have the Reason. Forwards or backwards, the Reason handles it with ease. So what we have here is the first full chromoly frame in We the People's bike lineup. It's got a 76-degree head tube angle and a 12.75 inch chainstay. It's got 160 millimeter cranks. That's good to see, I think, for this bike. 15 millimeter offset forks. That's definitely bringing this bike more towards a niched version of a complete bike meant for certain things. It says here, making it truly ride like the same bikes We the People's pros Felix Prangenberg and Dan Crook are riding right now. Interesting. Salt Pro free coaster and the latest We the People aftermarket products. Let's take a look at those specs. First, the options are matte black and matte blue and matte trans purple. The specs are as follows. Full chromoly frame, awesome. Full chromoly fork, awesome. Full chromoly handlebars, these ones are 4-piece, awesome. I love to see this. It's got the tapered seat stay and chain stay, 15 millimeter offset forks. Love to see this on complete bikes. Everything else is pretty much the same here until we get to the cranks, which I already mentioned are 160 millimeters. From there, most things are similar. It's got that Paragon sprocket again. It's got the free coaster, sealed bearing, front sealed hub, rear it's obviously sealed. Let's see, it's got hub guards that come with it. Front rim is still single walled, which is unfortunate. Rear rim is double walled, like to see that. Activate tires again. It comes with 2 pegs, 4.15 inch steel pegs. This one is 27.63 pounds. And when we take a look at the Reason on Albi's website, we see this is listed for $686. When it comes to the parts on this bike and the value that you're getting, I feel that the value sways once again towards something like the Devotion from Cult, and then you could upgrade the forks to a full aftermarket, highest quality possible fork to have a full chromoly bike, or the Whip from We the People and spend almost $200 just buying parts and upgrading them. So at this point, I feel that we're in the realm of bikes that if you're going to buy one of these from We the People, you're doing it because you want to support We the People as a company and you want a We the People bike. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. These things are up to you as the person making the purchase. I'm just giving you all the information that you need to make an informed purchase of your bike so that you don't get it and then realize later that you could have got a better deal, or that you're bummed out that you could have got this over that. And that's not what we want. So I'm trying to give you all the information possible. And I feel if you want to support We the People, This is the first bike I would say that you'd be comfortable in doing so if you fully intend on riding BMX, the skate park, trails, vert ramps, street, whatever it might be, and actually intend to progress in it. This is the first bike that I would recommend for that if you want to support We the People. But I've said everything I have to say about this one now. Let's move on to talking about the next complete. We have the Crisis. High performance machine decide to shred on any ... So from this first paragraph, we can see that it is available in 20.5 or 21 inch top tube size. It's got the Overbite 2.35 inch tires, Logic sprocket on this one, Logic front load stem. So there's a lot of differences in the parts that come on this one. What are the options? Midnight green, matte black, and champagne. Specs are full chromoly frame, same as the previous. This one has 127 millimeter head tube as a feature that is advertising. It's got the 26 millimeter Salt Crisis fork that is full chromoly, 2-piece handlebars here that are full chromoly, perfect grips, Logic front load stem. This one has a 48 millimeter reach, which is something to take into account because the reach on this one is shorter than the previous bikes and it's a front load, so it's going to have a lower rise on it. The cranks on the Crisis are the Salt Plus Ultra Square Profile 3-piece TSS crank. They're 170 millimeters, and this says 8 spline, but when we take a look at the pictures of these, we can see that this one definitely doesn't appear to be 8 spline unless there is an 8 spline version that is not pinch bolt. Moving from there, it's got the slash pedals, the supply chain from We the People, so it's a different chain. It's a cassette, sealed bearing, fully sealed front and rear hubs. It's got hub guards with it that are nylon fiberglass front and rear. It's got double wall rims front and rear. Finally, we have double wall rims here. And it's got the Overbite tires, as we said. This one is 26.66 pounds. And taking a look at pricing, we see that it is at $738 from Albies. And when we take a look at the bike in the same price category from Kink, we see the Cloud, which is $750, just $10-ish more than the Crisis from We the People. This is Travis Hughes' signature bike. And the specs on this one, honestly, line up pretty similarly to the Crisis. There is a difference, though, with the cranks. On the Cloud, they are 8-spline pinch bolt cranks. So you are seeing an upgrade over the Cloud on the Crisis, which is good to see at this price range. Everything else is pretty much the same. Chromoly frame, fork, and handlebars. It's got a top load stem versus the front load stem on the Crisis, so just those cosmetic and geometric differences are present here, and I think that this is the first time we can solidly say that if you're looking at the $750 price range, you could get the Cloud or the Crisis from We the People and feel that you're getting a similar value. Thrilled to be able to say that at this point. Now let's move on to the Versus. We the People has a lot of complete bikes. The Versus, though, appears to be a park bike in that it has a gyro setup that comes stock on it. What's it say? Versus is an unstoppable skate park machine with all the ... We need to get you to click so you check out the bike. And when we take a look at the options on this, we've got silver with the purple decals and translucent red. Under the specs, we can take a look at the differences here. It's got the full chromoly frame, fork, and handlebars. These forks are a 26 millimeter offset. It's a 2-piece handlebar. It's got a front load stem with a 50 millimeter reach. It's got the Salt Plus Geo rotor, CNC'd with a Salt dual upper cable. It's got the Eclat Talon U-brake in the rear. This has the same cranks, I'm assuming, as the previous bike, but this is 170 millimeter. It's got a cassette, sealed front and rear, double walled rims. So once again, this bike is a fully solid bike. But let's take a look at the price. The Versus comes in at $759, and so when we take a look at Kink's lineup to see if there's something to compare it to, there's really not, because none of Kink's bikes have a gyro on them already. You could buy the Cloud and then put a gyro on it, or the Switch and put a gyro on it, and that brings up the point of, well, if you're going to do that, you could buy the Whip and then put a gyro setup on it and still come out spending less money. But at this price range with these features on it, because I feel that the The Versus from We the People features a lot of aftermarket parts on it, and the stuff that's on the whip isn't quite at the same caliber. I haven't seen these bikes in person, but that's just the impression that I get. So let's take a look at other bikes that are on the market. So we've got the Fit 2023 Park. This one has a chromoly front triangle, and the price is way less. It's $200 less. And if you're looking for a chromoly frame, fork, and handlebar, this isn't one you're going to consider. Same with the Haro Downtown DLX, as well as the Sabrosa Salvador Park Complete. This one is $520 and does not have that full chromoly frame, fork, and handlebar. So you really can't compare the two. The only one that you can really compare in this is the Sunday Forecaster Maca Perez signature bike that does come with the gyro setup and does have a 100% chromoly frame. It doesn't have 100% chromoly fork and handlebars, and the price on this one actually is $100 less to make up for that. So when it comes to the Versus from We the People, I feel that this may be in a category of its own in BMX. I couldn't find one. I didn't look at every single company's complete bikes out there, but from what I did see in poking around, the Versus seems to be in a league of its own in full chromoly frame, fork, handlebar, double walled rims, sealed front and rear hubs, and a gyro setup on it. So this is a bike that I feel if you want a park bike with a park setup, you could buy this and feel you're getting a good value for your money, unless you want to go with a different company's bike that doesn't have the gyro setup on it already, and then buy a full gyro setup and put it on yourself. That way you may be able to save some money, but supporting We the People and getting this bike would not kill you value-wise. And how crazy is it that we are just getting to over the halfway point in the complete bikes from We the People? We have the Trust CS, the full package. The Trust is one hell of a bike. We have full chromoly frame, fork, and handlebars, 26mm offset forks, Hydra top load stem from We the People, 50mm reach with a 36mm rise. It's top load. Let's see, Eclat brake. It's got the same cranks on it, but they're 170mm, and they finally say 48 spline. So maybe those cranks that we saw previously are closed off and aren't pinch bolt, but are 8 spline, because this actually says 48 spline. It's got the Eclat centric pedals, We the People chain, Paragon sprocket with the guard, 25 tooth. I'm assuming all the other ones are 25 tooth as well. Fully sealed front and a rear hub, 9-tooth driver. It's got Eclat trip-in rims on it. This is a double-walled rim with a pinned seam in it, which if you look right here, you can see potentially, if you look close, there's a line in the rim. The pinned seam means that it is put together with pins that go into each side and not welded. This is a lower quality, but it is still a double-walled rim from Eclat, and it is probably higher quality than the previous bike's rims. And it says that it now features oversized 3mm pins, making the rim tougher and more durable than any other pinned rim on the market. Bold claim, but they are making it. It has the Activate tires, the 100 PSI version, so that's something to take note of. On the previous bike, they were the 60 PSI version. And it comes with 4.5-inch nylon salt and pegs, 2 of them. And the weight is not on here, but it comes in matte black and matte raw, as we see right here. It's got purple rims on the matte raw, and the matte black is all black except the stem and the handlebars. And at this point, with a price tag like the $822 that we're seeing, when we compare it to the Kink lineup, there's nothing right there other than the Williams that is above and the Cloud that is below. And I think that when we're looking at this level of a complete bike, we're looking at something that you're buying because you want to have a better quality bike. This is getting closer and closer to an aftermarket custom level of bike. And you know that if you're willing to spend that $822. At the same time, when we take a look at an alternative of buying a different lower end bike and then putting aftermarket parts on it, we could get to the same thing. But I feel like that's just like beating around the bush and running in circles and kind of just getting into too much nuance with this subject. So at this point, we're buying bikes that are fully capable of standing up to BMX. you don't have to worry about the quality of the parts on these bikes. You're pretty much seeing something that is what you want, the geometry that you want, and the colors and parts maybe that you want at a price point that you can afford. So that being said, value-wise, I don't know that you're getting a bad value. I don't think you're getting a bad value. The parts do look to be of a higher quality, and I would be willing to bet that if you put this bike beside a lower priced bike that is full chromoly frame fork, everything with double wall rims, everything, you could probably spot some quality differences if you looked closely, even though when you break it all the way down, they have very similar specs materials wise. Taking a look at the FC Free Coaster version of the Trust, I'm just going to assume that everything is exactly the same other than the fact that it has a free coaster. Let's see, rear hub, it's the We the People Helix Free Coaster, so that is good. It's a We the People aftermarket free coaster. Love to see that. And the price difference on that one is just $10 over the CS version. The free coaster version also has 4-piece handlebars, so there is actually some differences there. Maybe we should take another look at the specs. It has a top load stem, 48mm reach with a 35mm rise. Let's take a look and just see what the differences are, because if you're comparing these bikes and trying to figure out which one to buy, the geometric differences may influence your decision. This one has a 50mm reach with a 36mm rise. It's also a top load stem. So there are differences there. It's got a 15mm offset fork on the free coaster, 26mm offset fork on the cassette version. The cassette version also has longer cranks that are 170mm long and 48 spline versus 160mm on the free coaster version. So there's definite differences here that you should take note of if you're looking at these bikes, because you don't want to get one and then find out that the other is better suited for your riding. So definitely look closely at this just in case I missed anything. And with there being a $10 difference in price, maybe it's worth it for you to get a free coaster and upgrade from the just cassette version. So let's move on. We have 4 more. The Battleship Complete, the pinnacle of BMX technology, the ultimate street setup. Let's see. Is it the ultimate street setup? It has a full aftermarket pro parts package. Bold claims. 15mm offset Battleship fork. A Cloud We the People parts package. This is a bike which any of our team could ride straight out of the box with zero compromise. Includes lifetime guarantee on the frame and fork. That is awesome. That could give you solace and peace of mind when you're buying this. Options are glossy raw, left side drive, abyss blue in right side drive, so take note of that. You don't want to get one and have it be the wrong drive side for you. We've got the Battleship Frame from We the People. That is an aftermarket frame from We the People. You can see right here it is listed on there. So we've got that. We've got the Battleship Fork, post-liquid heat-treated butted Senko tubing 1-piece CNC steer with a 15mm offset. It's got the Eclat Strangler bar. It's a 4-piece handlebar, post-liquid heat-treated 4130 chromoly 25.4 clamping area. Eclat domain top-load stem, CNC alloyed 48mm reach with a 25.4 clamping area. I believe they're pointing that out because it is the oversized clamping area. Yes, it appears to be so. Does still come with the Eclat Talon U-brakes. Tubular 3-piece We the People Logic cranks. 160mm, they are 48 spline, and they are 22mm. That is great to see. It's got the We the People compact 22mm bottom bracket. Eclat centric pedals. Salt Plus half-link chain. It's got the nylon sprocket and guard elevate sprocket. 25 tooth. It's got the We the People Helix front and rear hubs that are both fully sealed, and the rear is a free coaster. Comes with guards, front and rear. Comes with the Eclat Bondi rims that are 38mm wide. They're welded and double walled. That is good. Very good to see. And it's got the Decoder 2.4 to 100 PSI tires, front and rear. And it comes with the 4.8-inch nylon Venom Eclat pegs. 2 of them. 27.81 pounds. And this aftermarket pro level bike comes with an aftermarket pro level price tag at $1,232. And the only comparison I feel we can make with this one is Sunday Bikes taking a look at something like the Dark Wave Authentic, which is $1,350, or the Soundwave Special. Both of these bikes are full aftermarket parts, similarly to the Battleship, and I think that at this level, you're buying something with the intent to get the best possible thing that you can, and you're doing it knowing that you want to buy a We the People. There's other companies that have these full pro aftermarket level completes, and at this price range, you know what you want. You're buying something because of the name and what is on it, and at that, the lifetime guarantee is a really awesome thing to see. Kink has the Williams Complete. That is mostly aftermarket stuff. It is $900, but it doesn't come with the exact aftermarket frame that is the Kink Williams frame. It is the same geometry, I'm pretty sure, but it's just not the exact same frame that if you bought the aftermarket Williams frame that you would get. So with that being said, value here, it's there. You're buying a full aftermarket bike with a full aftermarket price tag, and you know what you're getting. So value, you don't really have to worry as much about, and they're definitely giving you a deal over if you bought all of these same parts separately. So let's take a look at the Revolver. What's the Revolver then? At this point, the bikes above this are like, what are they? We need to take a look to find out. So the Revolver, what's it say? Taking our do-it-all aftermarket Revolver frame and draping it in some of the finest high-end components. It's got a 21-inch top tube on it and all-around geometry, so it is not a street machine like the Battleship is. It's got 28.9 gearing on it, which is good. So basically this bike seems to be just made for everything, not necessarily specific to street riding like the Battleship is. It also comes with chromoly pegs and hub guards and a lifetime guarantee on the frame and fork. Love to see that. It comes in matte skipper green. Kind of doesn't look like green to me. Kind of looks like blue, but doesn't matter at this point. Move down to the specs. What do we have for specs? It's got the Revolver frame, which is an aftermarket frame from We the People. It's got an investment cast wishbone. I think the Battleship did as well. 7.5mm dropouts. The Class Storm fork with a 30mm offset. More stable steering on this than the previous bike. It's got the Revolver handlebar. Same post liquid heat treating on it. Full chromoly. The Class Metra top-load stem, 51mm reach with a 30mm rise, so it's a longer stem than what we've seen previously to give you a more stable and more control over your turning experience. It's got removable gyro tab holes. We've got the We the People Logic cranks. They're 22mm again, 175mm this time, 48 splines. So we have a longer crank arm, and it's something that we see more often on bikes that people are building for the trails. As we said earlier, the geometry on this one is more all around, so it's made for just everything. The front and rear hub are the Eclat Pulse hubs, fully sealed 3/8 axle in the front, fully sealed cassette 9-tooth driver, with a 14mm axle in the rear. We've got chromoly front and rear hub guards. It comes with double wall We the People Logic rims that are welded, and it comes with let's see, where are the pegs? 4140 heat treated chromoly pegs that are 4.6 inches long, and it comes with two of them, the Eclat Dura pegs, and this bike is lighter than the previous at 25.85 pounds. The price tag on this one is $1,248, just $15 more than the Battleship, so it's in the same realm, and the exact same explanation that I gave for the Battleship in value applies to this one as well. This is just more well-rounded geometry for more comfortable riding in all scenarios. So moving on from there, what is the next bike that we have? The Envy, the best BMX bike ever made. What more needs saying? Well, there's another bike here. I'll say that. So what do we got here? The Envy is a chance for us to showcase how far BMX design has come and a glimpse into the direction it's heading into. The launch of this particular model always sparks debate and attention unlike any other bike in our lineup, and for good reason. The Envy is a chance for us to hand select only the creme de la creme from our product lines and carefully assemble them into one masterpiece of a bike. The Envy proves that strength does not have to come with a weight disadvantage, built up using our super light Envy XLT frame, along with the Class Storm XLT fork, E440 rims, and groundbreaking seismic hubs. I haven't seen those in a bike yet. The Envy is the highest spec BMX bike of all time, despite the low weight, The Envy was designed for even the most brutal street and park riders and handle the raw brutality of BMX riding, and features a lifetime guarantee on the frame and fork. As always, available in right and left side drive, includes the lifetime guarantee on the frame and fork, as we saw. Comes in black chrome only. Specs are We the People Envy XLT frame, hydroform gussets, laser cut 6mm dropouts, 120mm head tube, Storm XLT fork from Eclat, 24mm offset here. Envy XLT handlebar. This is a 25.4mm clamping diameter. It has the Eclat Dune top load stem, the CNC alloyed 50mm reach, 25.4 clamping, sniper hinged brake lever. So this is a more specific brake lever than the previous 2-finger version. Eclat Talon U-brake with the Salt Plus propeller clear brake pads. It's got the tibia cranks from Eclat, which are a 2.5 piece crank that is 22mm, and these are 170mm in length, 48 spline as well. Eclat CNC bottom bracket, the Eclat Contra pedals, the We the People Demand chain, the Eclat Abyss sprocket, 25 tooth here. It's got the seismic hub in the front, fully sealed with 3/8 female bolts, and the seismic cassette rear hub. If you haven't seen that one, you should take a look at some videos. It is totally different than other cassette hubs, other than the Fly Magneto that has a similar ratcheting setup. Just Google it, you'll see what I mean. Hub guards, nylon front and rear. E440 rims, welded and double walled. Mirage 2.45 front and rear tires, and comes in at just 24.07 pounds. Dang, that is light. And the price tag on the Envy is $12.99. As it said before, it's got the 20.5 and the 21-inch version, and it's the same story once again. If you're spending this much on a complete bike, you're doing it because you don't want to build up a bike from individual parts all the way around. You want to buy a bike and be done with that one bike. And I'm pretty positive that I can confidently say that when you buy a bike like this, you're getting a discount over buying all of these parts individually and putting them together. Same story there. If you want this bike, it fits your geometry, you don't want to build a bike and you just want to buy something and be done with it, the price tag is there. It's actually still less than something like the Dark Wave Authentic, which is $13.50. So the price is competitive at that rate. It's $50 less, and you're getting something that's the same quality, potentially even better, being that it has a lifetime warranty on the fork and the frame. Next, the Envy Carbonic. Let's take a look. I'm just going to assume we took what was already the highest spec complete BMX bike in the game and gave it a nitrous boost. The Envy Carbonic takes the legendary We the People Envy and gives it one of the most progressive and game-changing technical upgrades ever seen on a complete. Now rolling on the Eclat Carbonic carbon fiber rims and with a slick stealth black makeover. This begins the dawn of a new era in BMX design. Interesting. Comes in 20.5 or 21-inch top tubes, right and left side drive, and includes a lifetime guarantee on the frame and fork once again. So, I'm just going to assume, also only available in matte black, but I'm going to assume that it has all the same parts. Frame, fork, same offset, same bars, same thing there, cranks, same bottom bracket, pedals. Yep, everything is the same except for the rims. Front rim, Eclat Carbonic. Back rim, Eclat Carbonic. It is 37 millimeters wide, and the back one is the brake compatible version. It comes with the brakes and is 23.8 pounds. What is that compared to the Envy by itself? 24.07. So you're really only saving 0.2 something pounds for that. What's the price difference? After doing some digging, I actually can't even find the price on the Envy Carbonic to give you guys the value difference, but this bike is in a league of its own. If you're buying this bike, you know what you're buying. You know what you're getting. So I really don't even really need to pull up the price, because you are not just willy-nilly deciding to buy this bike. You sought it out and you wanted to buy it, and I would say the price tag is probably competitive and better than buying everything separately. So just know it's going to be considerably more expensive than the Envy, because carbon rims are not cheap. So that being said, we got 12 to 18 inch bikes to take a look at. This is a long video. We the People has so many bikes, but there's only 5 12 to 18 inch bikes, and there's only 3 22 to 27 inch bikes. So we'll get through this as quick as we can. The Prime 12 inch is a Strider. It comes in 2 different color options, metallic mint and turbo blue, and the only pricing I can find on this is in euros, 277 euros for this one, which is about 300 US dollars. Comparing that to Kink's lineup, we've got the Coast, which is $200. This is a comparison of branding, and if you want to buy a We the People for your kid over a Kink or something else, the differences probably aren't huge. They look to be very similar bikes. The Riot 14 inch, meet the new guy, our first 14 inch complete. Integrated headset, mid-bottom bracket, 3-piece crank. Good to see that. It's got a top-load stem on it. This bike looks pretty legit. It's got a real U-brake on it, 990 mounts. It comes in matte black with yellow decals and red. And the specs on it, I'm assuming we know that it's a high tensile steel frame. It's got a chromoly steer tube. That's good to see. High tensile steel handlebar. It's got a top load 40 millimeter reach Salt Junior stem, integrated headset, holes for gyro tabs. Tubular 3-piece cranks are 114 millimeters, 16 spline with a hollow spindle. Spanish bottom bracket. Interesting to see that, 19 millimeter. It's got a loose ball front hub with a semi-sealed rear hub that is 10 tooth. Both are 3/8 axles, and doesn't have a weight listed here, but it's got 2-inch tires front and rear, the Salt Tracer tire, and it's got single-walled rims front and rear. And at Source's website, it says that the Riot is $406. Let's compare that to Kink's 14-inch. It's the Pump at $330. This one does not have an integrated headset. It has non-3-piece cranks. I'm pretty sure it's got an American bottom bracket in it. We can see right here, unsealed American. So for $70 more, you can get a pretty substantial upgrade on pretty much all aspects, and that just gives options in price ranges for these bikes. If you're looking for a bike for your kid to just ride around in circles and not do any tricks on, well then maybe you look for the Pump. But if you want something where your kid can actually try to progress and learn BMX, well then maybe the Riot is the way to go. From there, we've got the Seed 16-inch, a carefully designed and well-spec'd 16-inch bike. Taking a closer look here, the options for the Seed are matte black and surf blue. The specs are high tensile steel frame, chromoly steer tube forks with a 28 millimeter offset, high tensile steel bars. And I should have mentioned already with the 14-inch bike, when it comes to these bikes that are smaller, where the people are smaller that are riding them, and they're just naturally not going as big or as high yet, the amount of force that's getting put on these bikes is nowhere near the same amount of force that's getting put on a full-size 20-inch bike being ridden by a full-grown adult or teenager. So I don't worry quite as much about recommending a high tensile steel bike or an aluminum bike to someone who's smaller, because the chances of them landing hard enough or putting enough force on this thing to break it are less. That being said, when you get to a certain level, you know you're at a certain level, and you're probably not seeking out a bike that is high tensile steel or something that is not going to be able to handle what you put it through anyways. You're probably already past buying a complete bike. I recognize that it's hard to find custom options or other options for aftermarket stuff at these smaller sizes, but there are some things out there, and I'm sure if you reach out to other companies that make custom frames, you could probably get them to make something smaller for you as well. So continuing on here, it's got the same integrated headset, mid-bottom bracket. Most of the parts are going to be the same here. This has the tubular 3-piece cranks. These ones are 127 millimeters with the 8 spline. This has the Spanish bottom bracket again. I said mid a second ago, it's Spanish again. Loose ball front hub, rear hub is the same semi-sealed 10-tooth cassette. Fraction single-walled rim. Most of it's pretty much the same. This one has the Tracer 2.2-inch tires front and rear and weighs 20.87 pounds. The price tag on the Seed comes in at $432, and in comparison to the Kink 16-inch, we see that the price tag on it is $400. So there's really not a giant difference, $30 difference for what I'm assuming is going to have some difference in geometry. Same high tensile steel, chromoly steer tube fork, high 10 bars. Everything's pretty much the same. The cranks are much longer on the Kink, so that's something to take note of. When you're buying these things, you're looking at those geometric differences when they're this close in pricing, and you're trying to figure out which one you should buy. Semi-sealed cassette, unsealed front hub, single walled rims, 22 pounds, 9 ounces. Pretty similar. So if you want to buy the Kink, you buy the Kink. If you want to buy the We the People, you buy the We the People, or you buy the one that fits whoever you're buying it for best. Value-wise, they're very, very close. And I love that there's options in BMX. So moving on from there, we've got the CRS 18-inch. Taking a look at the paragraph that they've written about this one, it has a shorter 11.65-inch chainstay. It says the CRS 18 has never been so dialed. What do we have for specs? First options, galactic purple and matte black. We've got a chromoly down tube on it, but the rest is high tensile steel. That's good to see. It's got same high tensile steel fork with a chromoly steer tube. It's got 26 millimeter offset, and obviously they're 18-inch, not 16 or 14. High tensile steel handlebars. Top load stem with a 45 millimeter reach. Integrated headset, brakes come with it, 152 millimeter 8-spline 3-piece tubular chromoly cranks, Spanish bottom bracket again. We move down here and we see this one has a fully sealed front and rear hub. That's great to see. It's got a 14 millimeter axle on it too and a 9-tooth driver. Single walled rims front and rear at the lighter person level. Once again, it's a similar story. They are going to bend sooner than a double walled rim would though. But at this price range and at this size, there's just not a ton of options out there to get where you could buy something that's double walled. There may not be a complete 18-inch bike that comes with double walled rims. I'd have to check to be sure, and I could be totally wrong in saying that, but it's entirely possible. It's got the Tracer 2.2-inch front and rear tires and comes in at 23.9 pounds. What is the price tag on this bike? $500 just about. What's 18 on here? $400 is the 18 from Kink. So the value proposition, I mean, this one's going to be the same story as the previous. The geometric differences are what you're going to want to look at in comparing these bikes. The cranks are actually the same length on this one, so that's not a difference. Semi-sealed cassette on this one with an unsealed front hub. So for that 90-something dollars less, you are actually getting less. This is an all high tensile steel frame, whereas the other one had chromoly in it. Similar chromoly steer tube forks. So there are differences. There are reasons that you could justify buying the We the People over the Kink. That being said, is it worth $100? Well, I think that's up to you to decide in taking a look at all of the different options that are out there. We're getting closer to a size of a bike where your kid could be putting some serious force on these things, and you may want to consider the material of the frame, fork, and handlebar that they are riding, because kids are getting bigger at this point and doing bigger things potentially, and you don't want to see anything bad happen because they're not riding the safest possible thing. That's still being said, they're still lighter. They're still putting less force onto these bikes. Therefore, they're probably still going to last longer than a high tensile steel frame, fork, and handlebars when an adult is riding them. And then we have the CRS FS18, a skate park shredded machine built for younger riders who ... So this one has a gyro on it, gyro setup. Looks to be probably the same bike, a full gyro equipped version of our incredibly popular CRS 18 model. So it's just the same bike but with a gyro on it. Comes in metallic soda green, and we'll just take a quick look. Yes, frame's the same, forks are the same, 26 offset. Everything is the same. It just got the Salt AM rotor on it with the gyro cables, and everything is set up there. So checking a completely different website this time, Powers BMX Shop. I'm just finding these bikes where I can find them, and figure I'd give Powers a shout out as well because Chad Powers rules. This bike is $494 on their website, which is a little bit more than the other, which is completely expected because it comes with more parts and different parts that are an upgrade over that if you wanted the gyro. It's the same story as previously. I'm not going to be a broken record. If you want an 18-inch bike with a gyro and you don't want to do it all yourself, this one's going to come with it. You don't have to buy a different 18 and then put it on there. And the value proposition is about the same. It's supporting the company and everything I've already said. Not going to repeat myself there. So next up, the 22 to 27 inch bikes. We're going to start with the Audio 22 because this is 22, that's 24, and that's 27.5. The Audio 22 just has bigger wheels, and we're going to take a look at the specs on this one to see if it's worth it. Comes in matte aqua red, and the frame is full Senko. Doesn't say 4130 full Senko. I'm assuming it's full chromoly. It's got the audio fork, butted chromoly tubing. Not exactly sure what that means, honestly. 32 millimeter offset. It's 4130 full chromoly handlebars. We have a top load We the People Logic stem, 50 millimeter reach. Gyro tabs are available. Comes with the Eclat Talon U-brake, Salt Plus Pro 48 3-piece tubular chromoly crank, 175 millimeters. These are 48 spline. Mid bottom bracket, CNC Logic 25 tooth alloy sprocket. It's got fully sealed front and rear hubs. The rear hub is a cassette. Double walled sleeved rims, We the People Logic rims, so they're not welded. We the People Overbite 22 inch tires that are 2.3 in size, and they're on the front and rear, and it's 25.86 pounds. And taking a look here at the pricing, we can see that the Audio is $863. There are a couple other options for 22s, but not many. Not every single company makes a 22-inch complete BMX bike. So now we head back to the We the People site to check out the Atlas. It says pump track or urban cruising. You'll have a hard time putting ... This is a 24-inch cruiser, full chromoly race-inspired frame. Butted chromoly tubing, CNC steer on the fork. Doesn't say full chromoly. Full chromoly handlebar. It's got a 28 millimeter rise, 53 millimeter reach, We the People Patrol top load stem, integrated headset. It's got a V-brake. Very important distinction here. It's a Salt Atlas V-brake. It's not a U-brake. Definitely something you want to take note of if you're planning to buy this and do anything with the brakes. I've gotten comments from people asking about putting U-brakes on these types of bikes, and pretty confident in saying that they don't go together. It's got tubular 3-piece cranks, 175 millimeter. They are 48 spline. They're the Salt Plus Pro 48. It's got a European bottom bracket, 19 millimeter. It's threaded, but it is sealed. It's got the Patrol sprocket from We the People. It's 33 tooth. So they're keeping in mind the drive or the gearing with this, because the driver is a 14 tooth cog. It's a sealed bearing. The front hub is fully sealed, female bolts. The back hub is a Pro cassette hub, fully sealed with female bolts. It's got double walled rims. They're aero rims. Doesn't say if they're welded or pinned. I'm assuming they're pinned. Tiaga Power Block tires, 1.75 inch front and rear, and comes in at 27.06 pounds. Taking a look at the price on this one, it's $884. There are other 24s in BMX. There's the Haro Shredder. It's a 2021 model. It's $390 on Dan's comp. There's the Sunday Model C, which is $640 or $690. I forget the distinction there. Stolen has a 24-inch as well. So does DK. There you have the Helio. It's on sale from $750. There's also a Fairdale, Colony, Haro, GT, and another DK 24 in this lineup. There's a lot of 24s in BMX, so maybe a 24-inch video is warranted too. Just know that the We the People Atlas is $884, which is by far and away at the top of the prices of a 24 that I can see, at least in complete bikes in BMX for 24 inches. So moving on from there, we have the last one, the Avenger, the 27.5 inch. Looks like it's a beach cruiser inspired bike. It says our 27.5 inch clunker is something unique to say the least. So let's take a look at the specs. This is one that I feel you're buying for the looks of it. You're buying for the utility of it. You're not buying it because of the specs. So I really don't need to go super crazy with this, but it's a full chromoly frame, full chromoly fork, full chromoly handlebar. It's got a top load CNC 49 millimeter reach We the People Avenger stem. We have disc brakes on this one. Shimano BLMT 200 disc brake lever with the BLMT 200 disc brake, 160 millimeter rotors. It's got the Salt Avenger tubular 3-piece chromoly cranks. They're 175 millimeter 8 spline. Bottom bracket is a Salt Plus bottom bracket. It's external, but it's got a sealed bearing on it. Logic pedals from We the People. Sprocket is a Patrol sprocket from We the People. The front and rear hubs. The Avenger disc front hub is fully sealed with female bolts that are M6. The Avenger disc cassette hub is fully sealed, 3/8 female bolts. Does this have disc in the front and rear? Yes, it does. You could really ride this bike if the geometry allows you to. It's got double wall rims in the front and the rear. It's got a railed seat on it. Tires are 27.5 by 2.25 inch front and rear WTB Ranger tires, and this is 32.84 pounds. Price on this one comes in at $1,030. So that being said, that is the Avenger. Those are the specs. That is the price. I can't give a comparison right now, but that is what it is, and that is We the People's complete bikes overview for their 2021 and 2023, and the way they're doing things moving forward is a little bit differently, so everything I've said is subject to change. That was 2 hours of recording. I hope you appreciate my effort. I hope this helps you, and if you're new here or you haven't yet, hopefully you'll hit the subscribe button down below so we can see you tomorrow for another one. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.